Before Tisha B'Av, in the year Tovshin Lamed Beis, the Rebbe gave over a heiroah that people should go on Tisha B'Av to the different shuls and speak about me Yehudi, to make people aware of the Gzeira Yuma of me Yehudi. So actually, I went in the morning to a shul and I spoke about me Yehudi. They allowed me to say a few words. I went to a few other bochrim and I spoke about me Yehudi because one of the heroes of the Rebbe. Then in the morning, by the Rebbe's davening, by the Rebbe's minyan, in the middle of the last Kaddish, that's after Shachris, the Rebbe made a remes, showed the Rebbe Pinchas Ketzu was the Gabbai that he should come over to him. And he came over to him, and the Rebbe told him that he should announce that whoever is going to speak in the shuls about the Gzeira of me Yehudi will get $1 from the Rebbe. And they also announced that anybody who's over 12 years old should go to the shuls. And that's like what happened. At 2 o'clock, the Rebbe stood by his room, and all the people who accepted upon themselves were ready to go to speak in the shuls about me Yehudi. The Rebbe gave $1, and then he also gave a letter. The letter is printed in the Igros of Tovshin Lamed Beis. So the Rebbe gave each one $1 and a letter. And we were actually talking then. It was an interesting sight to see. Years later, it was a common thing that the Rebbe stand and give out dollars and other things like this. The only time we saw the Rebbe stand by his door and give out something was lekach, but to give out $, and especially on Tisha B'Av, which is B'chal, Tivyochel, a sad day, and here the Rebbe is standing, that makes it look as a more freila. The Elam was happy that the Rebbe is giving $, but we were even saying to ourselves that this is like a beginning of what will be L'Osid Love when Mashiach will come. So this already had a psastical yontiv dikishtimim because the Rebbe was giving out $, and a letter to give to each person who walked by. It was mamish an interesting sight to see. I just have to mention that I myself had a suffix because I went in the morning to speak, but the loshen that the announcement was, it seems like that's what the Rebbe said, that whoever is going to speak in the shuls for me Yehudi, about me Yehudi, will get $1 from the Rebbe. So I already went, so I thought I was Yates already. I went, but the loshen was whoever will go. So I decided I have to go again to make sure that I'm Yates, that I will makayim what the Rebbe said, that anybody who will go. So I remember I went to the Svardish shul in Borough Park. They have a lot of minyanim, constant one after another. So I saw one minyan. So I wanted to, after the minyan, I wanted to say a few words. So I went over to the Gabbai who was in his room, and I said to him, "Please, can I talk? Say a few words for 2 minutes only, after the minyan." So he said, "Clearly no." So I walked out. But I know I had to do it. So I went to that minyan. I waited till finished the minyan. And before the second minyan started, I gave a pachantish and I said, I have something very important to say. And for 2 minutes, I said the importance of the Gzeira Yuma of me, Yehudi, etc., etc. And I left. I heard later when he found out, he heard about it, he came running. I was already away and he was upset. But Lepela was Mekayim. After that, the Rebbe got a letter from some people, Shluchim who are America Shlichas, Bochrim who are America Shlichas, and they also heard about the heroes, so they also, on Tisha B'Av, went to the shuls in their cities where they were, America Shlichas, to speak about me Yehudi. So they asked the Rebbe, they would also want to get a letter and $1. So the Rebbe answered them, this letter is also printed in the Igros, and the Rebbe answered them like this, La Shluchim Shlite, this is addressed to the Shluchim, Shetoanu the tainet loma nigora. Why should we miss out? And the Rebbe writes the words Bekesher lahashekel the Tisha B'Av v'chula, concerning the $1 that I gave out on Tisha B'Av. So the Rebbe answered two things. Number one, Aleph Hanalu al derech Maimer Chazal. This that happened is al derech like the Maimer Chazal in Yuma Perek Zayin Mishnah Aleph, where it says there Harei Yachulu. There it says concerning the King Godel. King Godel did the Avedis in the Beis Hamikdash. People would stand and watch what he did. Now he did different things. So it says whoever saw one of the things was not able to see when he did something else, let's say reading the Torah. And the Mishnah says, not because you're not allowed. There's no Isser in seeing the Kohen Gadol do both. But Pashad impossible. If you had a good place and you saw the Kohen Gadol doing something in this part of the Beis Hamikdash, so when he went to do something in the other part of the Beis Hamikdash, you couldn't see because you didn't have a place there. So the other guy who stood there didn't see the first thing. I just want to mention, the Rebbe doesn't write this, but it's al derech like by Hakofes. We knew some people had a nice, good place next to the Rebbe throughout the whole Hakofes, up front. And some people had a good place in the middle of the shul next to the Rebbe when the Rebbe danced his Hakofes, the first and the seventh. The one that had a good place throughout the Hakofes next to the Rebbe didn't have a good place, couldn't see so good the Rebbe's Hakofes. The one that had a good place at the Rebbe's Hakofes couldn't see The other hakov is being close to the Rebbe, not because you're not allowed, but it's not possible. If you had a good place, you didn't have a good place there. So al derech zeh here, the Rebbe said, so you couldn't be here, not because of anything wrong that you did, but you just couldn't be here. And the second thing, base that the Rebbe writes is, Adarabe ba'shliches kiflayim, shnei shkolim. That merke shliches, you got double, you got $2. Because the Seder was that before you went to Merke Shlichus, Rabbi Chadakov would give each group $2 from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe is saying, you got already here $2, and mainly you can't complain because you got not $1, you got $2.